My name is Andrew, and I'm a puppeteer, and I'm one of the co-directors of Thingamajig Theatre. These are some of my adventures in outdoor arts. Chapter 4: Puppet Residencies. One of the favorite things that I do over the years is puppet residencies, which is going somewhere different, staying there for a period of time, and working with local artists to create their own giant puppets or performances. And this really is a great opportunity to not only teach skills, but also get to know and work with and learn from a whole new set of artists. Number one, Arrow Island. And we were invited to work with some local artists, mostly Danish, one Swedish artist, to make some giant puppets to help launch a international mask festival. Because it's an island and really connected to the sea, we were asked to make two images, two giant puppets that represented the sea. So we decided to make a Neptune-like sea god creature and a mermaid. The team themselves were really hands-on on making the designs of these puppets and created some really interesting and particular characters, which I thought were very effective, especially parading down these very old sea villages in Arrow Island. What was exciting is some of the artists that we worked with are now making their own giant puppets and making their own events as well. So it's really exciting to see that the legacy of that work still carries on in a small part in Denmark. Number two, the Dawn Parade in Rostoki Mazupost. This is in the Czech Republic, just outside of Prague. We actually use this as an opportunity to learn about their carnival procession. I referred to it in the first video in this series, but actually we offered to teach a lantern giant puppet workshop just to have an excuse to go over there and work with them, really. And so we made one big rooster puppet, and then each of the artists, great local artists from the Prague area, each made their own lantern mask. And then we had a dawn parade. Now, this was the opposite of every parade I've ever been in. Instead of having a big parade where we tell loads of people about it, or starting sort of at dusk and ending up in the dark, which is what most lantern parades are, we did just the opposite. We didn't really tell anybody that we were doing this parade. We started in the pitch black. We ran around the streets with these roosters and lots of instruments making lots of noise, waking up the town because it was the day of the big carnival. And we made our way to the queen of the carnival's house, and we basically made a lot of noise until she came out and welcomed us in, and we went inside and had a delicious egg breakfast. And that was the start of Carnival Day, and the main carnival started at noon that day. So it was a fun and interesting take on why are you parading? You're not necessarily parading for an audience, but you're parading because the community needs to wake up and to start the day, because it's a special day of this sort of upside down transformation that a carnival is all about. Number three, Plovdiv, Bulgaria. I was invited to come and teach giant puppets and help to sort of shape a new community parade in Plovdiv, Bulgaria, for their capital of culture. And this was two different visits, actually. First, it was a visit to teach some basics of giant building skills, and we made these two different kinds of bird puppets. While I was there, I got to see the Kukuri Festival, which is an annual festival where there's different traditions from all over the country, where they have these masked characters, costumes, where they scare away evil spirits. So actually, I timed that residency so that I could make sure I could see that festival. So after the first session, then they carried on making giant puppets sort of in the style that I had taught them. And then when I got back, of course, they had loads more puppets. And then I also was there for the parade itself, and I made a big fancy woman it had a real nice legacy of the style of puppets that I was teaching. They went on to use some of those puppets for their own performances. Number 4, Santa Barbara. I was invited to come and teach some giant puppet making for a puppet festival. There is a great community of artists there, sort of congregated around the Santa Barbara summer solstice parade. Now, they do a lot of fantastic floats and costumes and samba bands, but they hadn't done as much giant puppet making and animation. We had some great participants who were already very skilled artists, who were very keen to learn this style of making puppets with clay and paper mache and light backpack puppets. They were just recovering from the wildfires and then the floods that happened afterwards, and so that was really in their mind. So when they decided on puppets to make, we decided to make a fire rescue dog and then a phoenix, because the idea of a community coming back from the fires. These puppets were used for this puppet festival, but also a 4th of July parade, as well as the summer solstice parade. And then what was really exciting is some of these artists made loads of more puppets in their own style based on these techniques, and then have used that for a few years now, making dinosaurs and then making these abstract creatures to inhabit their summer solstice parade. Number 5, Shrewsbury. Now, this was our most recent residency, which was just in the autumn of 2019. And we had known Bev and Ray, the organizers of Shrewsbury Morris, because they had invited us to perform at various folk festivals in the UK. And at one festival, I sort of approached them and said, "Do you think your Morris dance team might want a giant puppet?" And of course they said, "Oh, yeah, okay, sure, why not?" And so this idea was because I've been really inspired by these gigantes in Spain and Portugal and Belgium, where they have, and parts of France, where they have these villages and towns have these almost totemic giant puppets that a local group takes care of and then dances or shows off at various particular times of the year. And I love that tradition. And so I thought, well, why doesn't Shrewsbury have one? And why don't we have more of this in the UK? And so this team did a fantastic job of raising some money and brought us out for a couple weeks. They actually made a new story based on a local legend, composed some new music pieces and dances, and then so we created a whole event around this new giant puppet. So we made 6 flags that represented the different elements of their Morris dance team. This 2 weeks, and fantastic, enthusiastic group of folks. And what's exciting, of course, we've had the pandemic come right after that, but they've already had lots of interest and requests from various folk festivals to bring this. So not only are they invited to dance, they're invited to bring this giant. So now they have this giant that they can have these special dances with, and something hopefully that will carry on with this group to being a real sort of special icon of Shrewsbury and this team. So those were 5 of my favorite giant puppet residencies. It's just something that I've really enjoyed doing, working with a team of artists to really teach a skill, but also make something together that's really special for that community and for that team of artists. And if you happen to be in a community that needs giant puppets and aren't afraid of doing a little bit of fundraising, get in touch. Giant Puppet Residencies, that's my jam. And I've got one more video in this series, and it's going to be a little bit different from the others, and it's going to be 5 lessons I've learned from this past year.